In the previous section, we talked about some of the quotes from the book to get a feeling of what the book is really inviting us to do or what it's helping us to do. So now I want to start to get into the practicalities. And the first stage is capturing your inputs or capturing all of the data, the information that you have coming at you from every place into a trusted system. So the book has 3 key objectives. Number 1 is capturing in a logical and trusted system outside of your head and off your mind. So that is a collection tool. So the first phase of the book, and that's what we're going to talk about in the first video, is all about collecting everything. Now, here there's a really interesting question. Obviously, the first thing is that there is kind of a one-off payment, if you like. And that one-off payment is that you have to actually get everything together one time and collect it in one place. You don't need to do it again. Once you've done it once and stayed on top of it, you should be fine. Now that means everything that is on your mind. That could be to-do lists, it could be shopping lists, it could be WhatsApp, it could be Telegram, it could be emails, it could be phone calls, it could be voicemails, it could be bits of paper you have lying around, it could be the contents of your bottom drawer of your desk. Anything where you might have put stuff that is not organized and not sort of useful. And bear in mind, the book categorizes 3 things, which is to have a collection of useful information, which could be recipes, it could be books, it could be anything really. And the second thing is the things that relate to your current projects that are, sort of active projects at this moment in time. And your third is your list of actions. So the first thing is going to be collecting all of those inputs. Now, it might be that you miss things from time to time, and definitely if you could reduce those inputs, it would be better. But in a practical sense, you cannot get it to one input. Like most people do not have that everything in their entire life comes through one single channel. Instead, what you probably want to do is to note down your various in trays. Now, in trays don't have to be a physical tray. It's just a place where you keep unprocessed information. So for example, my email inbox is an in tray. There's a lot of unprocessed information in there. It could be a project, could be an action, could be reference, could be junk, could be something to delegate. So that's a place where I regularly check for unprocessed information, or it's kind of like an inbox tray. I might have a physical space on my desk where I keep bits of paper, letters. That's fine as long as you know they're unprocessed. And ideally, you want to minimize that as much as possible. So you don't really want to have some letters in your bottom drawer and some on your desk table. Ideally, you want to have all the things you haven't processed in one place. Practically, you're not going to be able to put them all in one place because you're going to have, for example, a WhatsApp inbox, an email inbox, for example, to-do list or a diary. You're going to have some different places, but as much as you can minimize it, that's better. But to begin with, obviously, the key thing is with regard to collecting this information is to start with a pretty broad scope. If the contents of your storage cupboard is causing you stress, that's an input. Even the contents of your storage cupboard, even the contents of the bottom drawer of your desk, if that's what's on your mind and you're thinking there could be something useful in there that I might need, or there could be something in there that I forget about, or there could be something in there I need to take an action about. So for sure, all of that is going to be part of your in tray. But a person might ask, how do I kind of collect that in one place? Because I can't really empty the contents of a storage cupboard onto my desk. Just a piece of paper will do. Just write on a piece of paper, contents of storage cupboard, and put it on your desk. And you know that until you've processed that piece of paper, you've done something with it, the issue is not done. For me, the contents of the loft or the basement or whatever could definitely be something that you want to process, because there may be useful things in there that you want. There may be things in there you need to take actions like selling or getting rid of before it rots or whatever it might be. So you've got this collection and you're trying to get it into a system off of your head. And we spoke about the idea of the fact that you will need to duplicate some of this the system is unlikely to be one single tray and one single list and one single book that everything is kept in. It's unlikely to work like that because in modern times, we just have too many inputs. But you can keep references to things. I do keep a list on my iPad of inputs. So I keep a list of places where I should check for unprocessed information. So that could be, make sure to check your desk, make sure to check the post box, make sure to check your email inbox, make sure to check your Telegram messages for anything that you haven't yet brought inside of your trusted system. That's all the first part of the process. The second, and we talk about this more in a subsequent video, but just for completion, is to make decisions about everything that is in that pile. So you have a big pile. It might be a virtual pile. It might be a real pile. It might be a collection of scrap pieces of paper with things like the garage or, the basement or whatever written on it. But you have a pile, virtual or otherwise. You now need to make decisions. You don't need to action them all. That's a big mistake people make. So what they do and what you see people do is, I've got a big pile of stuff to do on my desk. I'm not done until I reach the bottom of the pile. But what does it mean to reach the bottom of the pile? Does it mean you've done everything in the pile? That's not really feasible. The pile might never ever get done. But process it, yes. In other words, just to make a 1-second decision, this is to get done later, this is to get done now, this is to be delegated, this needs to be looked at in 3 months' time, to make decisions about that stuff. For most people, you will need probably to have a physical space where you put stuff, and also you might also need to have a digital space where you put stuff as well. For me, I do duplicate some of this work in the sense that I might have a physical space and also a virtual space as well, or more than one virtual space if I have an app that I use all the time. And that app ends up being like an in tray, like my notes, for example. Regularly, I'll just open my iPad and write a note. That becomes like an in tray, right? It's not processed. It hasn't been checked. It hasn't been decided what to do with it. It's just somebody met me in the street and said, oh, have you heard about this book? Oh, what's the name of the book? Or someone said, what's the answer to this question? I don't know, I'll research it for you. So if you have like an app where you make lots of notes in it, or you write reminders to yourself, they're also unprocessed until you've made a decision what to do with them. And a decision is a workable inventory of next actions. In other words, you've divided all this information really into 3. You've divided it into useful information to keep for reference, which could be names of books, authors, previous lectures I've given, the notes for them. They're all kind of reference. They're not anything I'm going to do, but I'm just going to keep it as a reference. The second thing is projects. So, here's a project. The project is to, for example, tidy out the storage cupboard. But that project is made of many, many actions, lots and lots of things that have to take place for that to happen. Again, we try not to make a list, like we don't make a to-do list that says, clean out the storage cupboard, because that's a project, not an action. An action might be, for example, make a list of everything in the cupboard. That could be an action. It's a single thing you're going to do. You're going to make a list. When it's done, it's done. Deciding what to do with it and all of that, that's a project, right? So basically, it's not that you have to finish your work, because work doesn't ever finish. It's that you have to decide what to do with all of your work. That's when you know that you're ready to actually use the system. When you've taken all of your possible inputs, all of your possible sort of sources of work, and you have decided what to do with them. That's when you know you're ready. You have a list of next actions, and bear in mind, those next actions, you can either do them or you can either renegotiate them. And renegotiating could be just a commitment to yourself. Like, I'm going to do these 5 things today. Actually, I've decided I'm only going to do 3 of them. 2 of them I'm going to do tomorrow instead. So knowing what to do in order to make progress towards your your goals.
If you like what you're seeing, then take it to the next level on amauacademy.com. We have nearly 100 self-development courses specifically tailored for Muslims, each packed with its own ebook and quiz. You'll get a new course every 2 weeks, so head over now to amauacademy.com.